Well. You know what it is. You know what's going on. It is Wes, and I am here for the raw take on the CUP Ringside, where you're going to get a front row seat for all things wrestling. What's up, guys? It's been a little while, but I am back. Unfortunately, my wonderful co-host Brooke is not able to be here tonight, which means you're going to be hearing everything from me. But of course, we're going to get into talking about Raw tonight, but before that, just want to let you know, we got other channels. You like the Cup, right? You're here, you're talking to me, I'm talking to you. It's great. We got 4 other channels. If you want to go check them out, they're going to be in the description. We also got stuff like merch, the Cup mug, other Cup things maybe down the line. We've got North American shipping. We're working on international. We're going to get there. But just be interested if you want to check it out. All the links are going to be in the description. But I don't want to waste any more time. Let's get into this episode of Raw. All right. So first of all, kind of a good episode. And we start out kind of like all the upper episodes of Raw that we've been having recently. We get some Drew McIntyre. We get some action from our boy Drew Mac. He starts going off the handle. Of course, anyone who's been following Monday Night Raw knows that he is mad with CM Punk. CM Punk has been messing with him in every way possible, and so he's mad. But you know what he starts doing is he starts hanging it out on Damian Priest too, talking about the paper champion, talking about, of course, the way that Damian stole his championship from him without even a match. But unlike CM Punk, unlike the Runaway, Damian Priest comes out, and they're going to talk about it in the center of the ring. And we get, in my opinion, a very quality promo. Maybe one of Damian Priest's best. We get stuff about, the title itself. Damian does a great job of breaking down why Drew lost, why it's on him. And I think that it's been said, but I think Damian Priest might have said it the best so far. And so, at the end of the day, it looks like we're going to be getting a title match because Damian Priest just accepted that match from Drew McIntyre at the end of the segment. So we're going to be getting a hella awesome title match between Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre. We're going to get some action there. And Damian Priest so far coming out, talking his business. Already got 1 title defense under the bag. He's looking for that second one. So I'm excited to see that. And it was a good way to kick off the show. But we got to move on. We move on to Io Sky versus Shayna Baszler. We're also having this Queen of the Ring, King of the Ring, these tournaments. By the way, WWE, you're rocking it. Can't say highly enough how much I'm enjoying the King of the Ring tournament and Queen of the Ring tournament. Kind of sick. And so, of course, we're going to get Io Sky and Shayna Baszler. And there was some beef with them in NXT. A small amount, no crazy major like bloodline feud or whatever, but we do have some past there. And so I was glad to see on commentary they brought it up just a little bit. That coherency amongst our wrestling. We got to enjoy it as wrestling fans. We all remember the Vince era. We remember when that was not the case. But we get Io versus Shayna. Good match. Good starting match of the night. We get some really, really nice spots. I like the energy. I mean, of course, no one's surprised by good women's wrestling right now. We are in the women's wrestling boom. And so it was killer to get to see Shayna Baszler get a televised match and a good televised match. But, of course, Io got to take that. Io, former recent women's champion, Io Sky, and looking like that she wants that crown. Given a little time to speak after the match, she gives a classic Japanese promo where she basically says, I'm going to be the queen and none of you are going to stop me. And she's making that crown. And you know what? She might get it. I don't know how you guys are feeling. Please let me know in the comments. Let Brooke know because they are not going to be here, but they'll be watching. And so if you want to hear what they're going to say about it or whatnot, you can check it out on the socials. But let me know. Drop me a comment. What do you think about Io Sky potentially just after losing her championship, winning Queen of the Ring? I can see it. Io's pretty dominant. Damage control still continues to be dominant, even though Bayley is the champion. But we'll see. But I have to hope we're going to see a little bit more from Shayna Baszler. She's been in a tough spot where she's in the mid card, kinda. sometimes. She's almost in that Shinsuke Nakamura spot where she gets a bunch of good mid-card matches, but the moment she's put higher up on the card, she's going to take that L, unfortunately. So we'll see if we get anything more from Shayna. But after that, we get into segment time. It's the middle, close to the middle of the show. We're going to get some segments. We get a segment from Damian. Judgment Day comes back up. And, of course, this is about the new initiation or hopeful initiation of Carlito. A lot of Judgment Day are really wanting Carlito to join. Of course, keeping with congruency and consistency in the company. Damian's not a fan of Carlito. Cost him in Puerto Rico. Cost him in a bunch of important matches. And, I mean, who can trust Carlito, right? He betrayed Ray. Damian's probably keeping that in the back of his head. How am I going to trust Carlito? Can you trust Carlito? I don't know. But at the end of the day, Carlito's saying, hey, I'm going to keep having your back until you trust that I won't backstab you. And so we'll see how that's going to go. Maybe even later tonight. That might, lead into something. We then transition pretty smoothly over to what I will call the Perk Gable segment. Of course, anyone who knows about Chad Gable knows that right now he is in Master Gable mode. He is completely turning on anyone who doesn't want to see his flowers. He wants to collect them right now, and that includes wins from Alpha Academy. He's kind of taking their losses as his losses, being a little bit more personal about it, and he is cutting, absolutely slaughtering members of Alpha Academy right now. I don't know. I don't know how Akira's going to take it. I know Otis is taking it pretty hard. Maxine, she's taking it pretty hard. We even saw Ivy Nile come in for just a little bit and say, hey, you don't have to take it. But it didn't last too long. I have a feeling we're going to continue to see Alpha Academy struggle and Perk continue to get even more angry until, I don't know, guys. We were talking a couple weeks ago about maybe an Alpha Academy split up. Who knows what's going to happen, but Chad's looking serious, and Alpha Academy is struggling. So that's the truth of the matter. And speaking of truth, we'll jump right from that right to the Awesome Truth segment. Commentary called Truth and National Treasure. I tend to agree, guys. This was another classic Truth segment. I don't want to spoil everything because it was hilarious. Go watch it if you haven't. If you know, you know. Truth hits us with some really funny bits. And well worth the watch. Truth is a national treasure, and that is the R-Truth of it all. We move into another match, though, because we just had segment. We are getting all that talking out of the way because the next match coming up was Kofi Kingston versus Gunther. There ain't going to be a lot of talking there. Maybe the only thing you're going to hear is a New Day Rocks chant, which we did, by the way, because it is Kofi Kingston. It is the New Day. The WWE audience, probably you, definitely me, we're going to cheer for the New Day at all times, even though we don't have Big E. Much love to Big E, but we're going to get this match versus Gunther, trying to avenge his comrade. Guys, it was rough. I know Kofi probably wanted to be King of the Ring, but Gunther has just been on a soul-crushing the New Day for the last month, and it just continued. Gunther had dominance in the match. It wasn't a complete squash, but it was rough to watch, especially for any New Day fans out there. Got him in a submission, and again, Gunther, when he gets that submission, especially, no matter really what submission it is, Gunther's lethal, and it wasn't any different here. Kofi had the tap, and so that's a New Day's chances eliminated, unfortunately, and Gunther continues to steamroll his way in the tournament. I can't say I was surprised. But I have to say, man, I hope to see something for the New Day soon. The tag titles aren't really in their immediate range of success. They're not really in the title picture right now. And so hopefully, they've had this Ludwig Kaiser moment for a little bit now. Maybe we can move on for the New Day and find them some new prospects. But if we can't, I still love them. Shout out to New Day. But Gunther is a professional, Gunther is a killer, and Gunther was the winner. So that's what it is, guys. It's rough. You a New Day fan? No? All right, well, it's rough. After this, though, we get a interesting match. I can only say interesting. We're going to get Bronson Reed, Big Bronson Reed. Shout outs to Big Bronson Reed in Australia. And we get him versus Akira Tozawa under the behest of Master Gable. Whew, wow, we are moving from the pot right into the fire, because we are moving from what is a one-sided match to a completely one-sided match. Bronson takes the soul out of Tozawa. Tozawa gets nothing, nada. He has some offense, of course, by the way, Chad Gable talking his mouth, running his mouth the entire time. We get something from Tozawa in the beginning, maybe for the first 20 seconds. Of course, Chad Gable taking all of the accolades for himself, saying, I taught him that, I taught him this. Yep, if you just do my game plan, then we are going to win. Until Tozawa looks towards the audience, starts to amp up, tries to be Hulk Hogan, does the shirt rip, is thinking about maybe doing an Akira Tozawa dance, but the moment he lets his guard down, he embraces the crowd, tries to turn up. Bronson Reed turns him sideways, gets him with an absolutely fatal combination into a tsunami, and the match is just over. Because we know, I mean, we love Tozawa, but he ain't taking a tsunami. He just ain't doing that. So, pretty rough squash match. It's tough. It's tough. Alpha Academy losing again tonight. It seems that Alpha Academy losing is just kind of, grass is green, sky's blue. Alpha Academy loses. And Chad, he ain't happy about it. And he continues to not be happy about it. And after the match, goes crazy on Tozawa, rips him a new one, and things move on. And it's tough because that's what happens. But thankfully, we get a little backstage segment that I think is very important, which is we get to interview Gunther, or we think we will. But after Gunther's win, he isn't feeling like talking. As I said, man, a few words. He heads out, and instead we get to hear from Ludwig Kaiser. And for any of those who didn't watch the product, guys, you got to go watch Ludwig Kaiser talk, because the man can talk. Pretty great promo. Calls out anyone who is questioning Gunther and Sheamus in the earlier rounds of the King of the Ring, calls out anyone who lacks faith in the ring general, talks about that long run he had, and then eventually says, if Sheamus has a problem, step up. And so, not in those exact words, but it's kind of looking like that's what we're going to get. We're going to look at maybe Ludwig Kaiser versus Sheamus, which I would personally be happy to see. After Giovanni Vinci's removal from the squad, it's given Ludwig Kaiser a great singles place to show up and step up. And I think that tonight I could really feel that from Ludwig Kaiser. Exceptional interview. Glad to see him doing well. Glad to see him talking his talk. And hopefully maybe we'll get a match with Sheamus soon to watch him walk his walk. But we must move on because we now have what I'm going to call the Talks with Adam insert, because we then hard pan over to our man, our GM, Adam Pearce, and we get a couple talks. Firstly, the New Catch Republic shows up and, kind of does their introduction for the Raw roster. Butch doesn't seem to be much of a talker. Anyone surprised? Pete Dunne, of course. And so does his thing. We get a New Catch interview. As much as it's New Catch, I'm glad to see them on Raw. We're going to get a little action from them later tonight, and they're definitely more of in the ring, do the talking than their promos. So it wasn't too much, but at the end, while they're walking off, we are engaged with a furious Braun Breaker, and he looks like he's going to break Adam's kneecaps. Long story short, looks at the man, tells him it was a pity and a mistake to not put him in the King of the Ring tournament. I tend to agree. I don't know if you all do. I do. As it goes to King of the Ring, it's supposed to be who is the best of the best, a really traditional tournament. The fact that Braun's not in it at all after his dominant matches was a little crazy, at least to me, and I think it's even crazier to Braun. Does a little bit of a Rorschach reference, and talks about, that they wouldn't be locked in here, or I wouldn't be locked in there with them. They'd be locked in here with me, kind of a reference. Was kind of badass, I'm not going to lie. And then he walks off. And so we get a short and sweet Braun segment, just like all of his matches. His promos seem to be the same. Comes in with a lot of energy and tends to back it all up. So I can't get mad at that. But then we move on to another match, because after the little Adam segment, we get Zoe Stark versus Lyra Valkyria. And guys, I'm going to call it here. I think this might have been match of the night. I'm not going to say that it alone is the only match worth watching. There were a lot of matches worth watching tonight, but I watched Zoe Stark versus Lyra Valkyria, and the energy was impeccable. Very happy to see Lyra get some really, really good representation right on the product immediately. Love to see that. Of course, sometimes some NXT call-ups have to wait in the wings a little bit, pun intended. But not Lyra. She gets right in this Queen of the Ring tournament, has an excellent match with Zoe Stark. Very banger match. Super heavily recommend watching, even if you just have to watch that match as the highlight. Of course, we get the fast, exciting match. Which Lyra wins? So she is getting far into that Queen of the Ring tournament. Potentially, we're looking Io, we're looking Lyra Valkyria. What's going to happen? Extremely technical wrestlers. Excited to see what's going to happen from that. And apparently she's powered by Morgan, the Norse god. We only had to hear that, or the Irish god, sorry. I only heard it like 15 times. I don't know if you guys got a little wigged out by that, but they kept bringing it up. Shout outs to mythology people, I guess. But she's a cool wrestler, and glad to see her on the product. And can we get something more for Zoe Stark too? Because I know she's out of the tournament now, but she was incredible in the match as well. So hopefully we're going to get some Zoe Stark, if you will. But we got to move on, because now we have the number one man, Otis. And he is fighting not just anybody. Chad Gable has thrown him right to the wolves, and he is fighting Sami Zayn, our Intercontinental Champion. The man who beat Gunther, by the way. And he is just throwing Otis in there, expecting an absolute stomp for Otis. Chad, brother, what are you thinking? I have to ask, even before the match, I look at Otis and I'm like, the man's impeccable. His worm is the best. He is a natural talent. But is he Sami Zayn talent? Are you, and of course, just like you'd imagine, Otis tries his best. The Otis, our man, our number one guy, tries his best, and he's doing well. But then he starts feeling the crowd. He rips that shirt off. He debates if he's going to wiggle, but he has to do a little worming. He has to get a little bit of that worm action in there. Tries to then go finish it off after the worm. Right into a haluva kick. Just didn't have the time to be doing that nonsense. And gets 1, 2, 3 by our Intercontinental Champion. Another very fast match. And it makes you wonder, because Chad starts dressing down Otis in some Raw type of way. We got to talk about it at the Raw Talk. I mean, it was Raw. Sammy comes back in, knocks Chad Gable upside the head. Chad Gable is barely able to get away from a haluva kick himself. And Otis helps our man out, even after getting chewed out. He helps their man out. He helps Chad Gable. He helps his friend. And you know what Chad does in response? Gives him one of those. Just smacks him right upside the face as hard as he can. Wow. You really do that to your brother like that? You go and you're going to be slapping Otis silly? The man who just helped you? I understand he lost the match. But we have to talk about it. You got to take a slight aside. So take your water break. I'm going to take mine. Think about this, all right? What could Otis have done? Because Otis, everything he was doing was working. Chad, what would you have had him do? Because he tried everything in his kit. But Sammy is pound for pound one of the best wrestlers in the company. A wrestler that you helped train to beat Gunther. If anyone should know that Otis is outmatched in that spot, it should be you. And now you've left Otis to the wolves. He gets completely destroyed by Sammy. And then you slap him for helping you. I get it. You're mad. You're heated. You're upset. You lost, and you are taking it out on the Alpha Academy. But I have to ask, Chad, what were you expecting? I get it. I get that you have a lot of faith in Alpha Academy, but I don't think you do, really. And so I would really like, I'm loving the whole Mad Chad. Okay, I think a lot of us are liking the Mad Chad. I'm liking serious Chad Gable. But, Chad, if we're serious, you either got to drop these losers or have a little bit more patience for them. Okay? But Otis doesn't deserve this treatment. Akira Tozawa doesn't deserve this treatment. Maxine does not deserve this treatment. And so I got to speak out about it. How do you guys feel? How would you feel if you were Otis? I don't know. But, there is one thing to be said. Chad said no funny business. All of the Alpha Academy couldn't resist. And after they kind of peeked into that funny side of themselves, they did get smacked up. It was in that moment when they started goofing is when they got goofed. So, does Chad have a point? Are you on team Chad is vindicated? Or are you on team Chad is abusive? Take a side. And if not, cool. But I'm going to. Maybe later. I'm not yet, though. I can't tell. I can't tell, it's too hard. But we'll see. We're going to get more Alpha Academy in later weeks. We got to move on, though, because we are getting the women's champion. I guess she did win, Becky Lynch. Unfortunately, she didn't have to defeat our last women's champion to become champion. But it's Becky. She's going to be winning. Big Bex wins big matches, right? And she's fighting Dakota Kai. Glad to see Dakota Kai back in singles competition. Wow, has she had some rough luck about who she's fighting, though. Because we get Dakota Kai versus Becky. Becky seems to be getting her at every moment. Just one up there, a little better here, gets the better of that interaction until we get this really nice roll up, and Becky is able to transform a potential roll up for Dakota into a disarmer. The match is definitely going to be over, but she doesn't even get a chance to tap. Dakota doesn't even get a chance because immediately seeing the disarmer, Damage Control jumps on her, disqualifying the match, jumps on Becky, and starts beating the ever-loving fire out of her until Lyra jumps through the hoops of the ring, jumps through those ring ropes and helps the girl out, gets some nice combinations on all of Damage Control. They get out of there, and Becky and Lyra, Irish, Team Ireland. I know any Irish viewers are probably popping off because you've got your two Irish women maybe teaming up, maybe showing some friendly bonds. Maybe we're going to get some more from them in the future. But not all good things can last, because this is just the disqualifying, crazy interference after interference after interference. Liv, for obvious reasons, shows up, throws Becky into a ring post, and then calmly walks away. Lyra doesn't even get a chance to help her out, doesn't even get a chance to touch her. And Becky is unresponsive outside the ring after getting absolutely gored into a ring post. Liv keeps getting her revenge. Shout out Brooke, Liv Revenge Tour. Any of those Liv worshippers out there, I know you guys are going crazy. Liv's getting her revenge. Is it going to continue? I mean, Liv keeps getting TV time. Liv continues to get these sneak attacks. We'll see if she gets a match win, though. She's doing a great job of chasing that championship, though. She's very good at that. So gets that interesting interference. Again, just a lot of interferences in that match. It was a good match, though. It was a good result. Becky, I would have loved to see the disarmer actually get the tap. It probably was going to, but Damage Control ain't having none of that. But then we move back. We move into the backstage area where we're getting a Ilya Dragunov We get a little tease to what's coming up. We're going to get Ilya Dragunov versus Jey Uso as our main event tonight. And we see Ilya talking, and he starts talking about what's going to happen with Jey because, for the stakes, for any of you who are not closely following the tournament, if Ilya is able to beat Jey tonight, he will fight Gunther in the semifinals. And for any of you who don't know, for our non-NXT viewers, they have history. They have mad beef, and now everyone on Raw knows that because Ilya gets to talk a little bit about their beef, their history, and lo and behold, as he starts bringing up Gunther, as you bring up the demon, so he thus appears, Gunther stands right beside him, right behind him, interrupts the promo. We get a stare off, a stare down, and Gunther calmly walks away. And so that's definitely going to tease. We're probably going to be getting Gunther versus Ilya, as we all expect soon. Maybe even, a certain event that's happening in some of their home countries. Maybe, who knows. But glad to see the NXT rivalry is going to continue. When you saw that they were drafted to the same product, I was hoping that would be a little obvious. It turns out it is. But I'm okay with obvious here. All right, I'll take obvious every time when it is the czar of NXT / now the czar of WWE versus Gunther, the ring general. Okay, I'm taking general versus czar every day of the week. Very excited for that match whenever it comes. But that's not the match we get next. The match we get next is effectively a very, very big grand reset on the tag division because we know our tag champs. But as Adam Pearce said earlier in the night, who's our number one contender? We don't really have one. We don't know the pecking order on Raw with our new tag teams. And so we get some of the old with some of the new. We get Judgment Day. We're used to that. We get the Creeds. They're kind of new. We get the Author of Pain. That's kind of new. We get New Catch. That's kind of new. So we get a bunch of these new tag teams or newer tag teams versus what are tried and true we know is Judgment Day. Of course, Damian Priest is no longer tagging with Finn. It's instead JD McDonough, according to some announcers. But, it's JD McDonough. And we get an incredible match. I very much liked this match. It was a good, long, four-way. I mean, who doesn't like a four-way tag match? A lot of men in the ring. A lot of great spots. Have to shout out the Creeds here. The Creeds are so talented. The Authors of Pain, very talented. New Catch, super talented. Judgment Day, you all know that they can wrestle. So this was just a fantastic match through and through. And everything is looking like it's going fairly well. New Catch rallies late into the match. It looks like New Catch is going to be our number one contenders. But a little earlier, we talked about Carlito and how he's trying to sneak his way and sneak into the good graces of Damian Priest. Well, this is Carlito's first big play into that because as they are getting up on an announcer desk, New Catch is trying to finish off the Judgment Day. Carlito hits them with a backstabber. He gets thrown into the ring. 1, 2, 3. Judgment Day is our number one contender for the tag team championships. Exclusively thanks to Carlito. All right, Damian. What you gonna do? Because now the Judgment Day are back on top, at least in their minds, and we see this in the next segment. They start celebrating, they start hooping and hollering, and they're gonna blow the house down. And Damian shows up. Carlito's there. Even though they got beef, Damian gives him a little break. He calls him hombre. He calls him amigo. But Damian is not trying to have Carlito if he can't rep for himself. He says, of course, the boys are going to probably be there for you, but are you going to handle your business with Ray? Carlito is like, yeah, I can handle my business with Ray. I mean, who's Ray? And if anyone knows, anyone who's been watching the pod, that I've been a little critical of Ray. Maybe calling him crazy things like the black baller of Lucho or whatever. I don't know. Sometimes I'm tripping, y'all. I don't know. But Carlito's going to have to fight Ray. And I think it looks like, to me, maybe not to you all, but to me, Looks like this might be an initiation into the Judgment Day. If Carlito can back it up, can take out Rey, squash his beef, come out on top, we might be seeing Carlito joining the Judgment Day, which they desperately need right now because Dom is injured and Rhea is injured. So, we are working with a not max capacity Judgment Day. We're going to need to see some extra beef. Cool to see it from Carlito. We all want Carlito heel, but we still haven't gotten the full heel. He isn't quite spitting in the face of people who think they're cool. He's still just kind of being a little friendly. And maybe once we get to see full Judgment Day Carlito, we'll get to see the man that we know, the man, the myth, the legend, the evil Carlito, if you will, the bastard. But we move on to our main event of this night's Raw. Without further ado, we get my second favorite match of the night. Anyone who's paying attention knows that the Zoe Stark match might have been my favorite. But the second favorite match of the night, Ilya Dragunov versus Jey Uso. We get a, I forget, like 15 to 20 minute banger of a match between Ilya and Jey. I'll be completely honest. And also, spoilers. I'm putting in a little spoiler warning here because I'm going to talk about who won. All right. Anyone who left is left. Ilya loses. Ilya loses his first match on the product to Jey. And so it's going to be Jey versus Gunther for the King of the Ring. Kind of unexpected. I was really thinking that we are going to see, with all this build-up earlier in the night, Ilya versus Gunther. But I guess they're going to be saving that moment for a little later because Ilya takes his first loss on the product. The Tsar is defeated. And is going into the semifinals. Kind of soul-crushing, at least for me. I know not everyone is a huge Ilya Dragunov fan. I am a huge Ilya Dragunov fan. But I'm also a huge Jey Uso fan, so I guess I can't be that mad. But guys, this was a great match. The actual ring work, incredible. Very high-paced, very athletic, very technical, Jey Uso, he ain't going to botch anything. You can expect no botches from Ilya Dragunov. Just really, really, really precise match. Really fun to watch. We are going to be getting a finisher from Ilya. It's very intense. But then a surprise spear, kind of Roman Reigns-esque, comes out of Jey right into the Uso splash, which takes the match. And Ilya's going to have to work his way. He's not going to get a no-loss all-the-way shot to Gunther and winning King of the Ring and winning the titles. He's going to have to work for it. And that's kind of where we end off, is we've got our semifinals. We know what's going to happen. We're going to be seeing some Gunther Jey. We know we're going to be seeing some Lyra Io. We are going to be getting some heat on Monday Night Raw. Things continue to heat up in this new era as we approach our Saudi show, where we're going to be seeing the finals and stuff like this is resolved. Are you guys interested? Do you guys care about King and Queen of the Ring? Is it just me? These are all questions I want you to answer down below. Also, you can also comment them right at my Instagram, which is on the banner below. I have socials now, people. You can contact me. Also, if you want to hit up Brooke, tell them your thoughts, or just leave it in the comments so we can all see it. Much appreciated. Also, if you've been sitting around listening to me talk for 30 minutes, you could hit subscribe. Wouldn't hurt. I'd very much appreciate it, as we are, trying to amass some subscribers to talk more wrestling with more people. It's fun, y'all. We're talking wrestling. Want to hear your thoughts, get some feedback. But that's all here at the CUP Ringside. And of course, if you want to catch us on Laying the Smackdown or Who's NXT, on Wednesdays and Fridays. If you want to talk about more wrestling, we will be there for it. Until then, signing out. Peace out, people.